There was a certain prince who had a passion for the art of archery, and so great was his passion that he sought out the greatest master of the bow and arrow in the land. He left his palace to become a student of this master. After some many years, he himself became a master archer, and after this he left that place to return to his palace. But on the way he came to a village, and as he was passing through that village, there were a row of barns, and on every barn there was a bull's eye with an arrow right in the middle. And the prince could not believe his eyes. He thought to himself, after all of these years of study and attaining this mastership, I have never seen anything like this. I must meet this person. So he alighted from his horse and he asked a passerby, "Who shot those arrows?" And the passerby said, "Oh, that's Noor, the town fool." And the prince said, "I don't care if he's a fool. I want to meet this person." And the passerby said, "You don't understand. He shoots the arrow and then he draws the bullseye." Then there's a story about 3 young men who were all adventurers at heart. They were brothers, and they decided amongst themselves that they would travel the world, each seeking out a treasure. And after 10 years, they would come together to share the treasures that they'd found. So the eldest brother went off to the west, and he came to a land where in the streets there were jugglers and magicians and sorcerers of all different kinds. But then he espied a person who had some kind of glass, and when you looked in this glass you could see into the 4 corners of the earth. So the brother thought, oh, this was a treasure that he could share with his brothers. So he haggled and bargained with the conjurer who had this glass until he was able to procure it for himself. Now the second brother went east, and he came to a land where there were carpet makers and weavers of all different kinds, bargaining to sell their goods on the sidewalks. But then, as the second brother was observing these, he noticed that there was a carpet at the bottom of a pile of one particular being that seemed to move. As he watched it, it seemed to have definite undulation. So he asked the seller what was, the seller whispered to him, "Well, in fact, that's a magic carpet. It will take you in an instant wherever you want to go." So of course the brother thought, oh, what a wonderful treasure, I can show it to my brothers. So he bargained with the seller, and he managed to procure the magic carpet. Well, the third brother went off. I think he went south, because there's something else about north we won't mention right here. But he went south, and when he got there, he found himself in a great land of forests, greenery, trees. And as he was walking through this forest, he spied a tree standing on its own, very lush with its greenery, and on it there was hanging just one fruit. Now, the brother thought this was very strange. Such a magnificent tree, so lush, but only one fruit. I wonder if there's something special about that fruit. So he went over, and just as he put up his hand, it seemed that the fruit just dropped into his hand. But no sooner had it done so, when he looked, another fruit had appeared, only one. So the brother thought this was certainly very, very unusual. There must be something very special about this fruit. So he took it and put it in his satchel, and he walked up back thinking, now this is something that I can show my brothers. But when he turned around, the tree on which the fruit had hung had disappeared, like it had never been there. But he went on his way, and in fact the 10 years by this time were up, so the brothers met in the designated place to share the treasures that they'd found. And the first brother said that he had found this glass that could see into the four corners of the world. Let's look and see what we can see. So they looked in the glass, and in a far distant place they espied that there was a princess who was on the point of death. And her father the king and all his courtiers and all the people were mourning the possible demise of this beautiful princess. So the eldest brother said, oh, how can we help? And the second brother said, well, I have my magic carpet. We can be there in an instant. So they hopped on the carpet, the three brothers, and in a flash they were there at the palace where the princess lay. Now, the third brother suddenly had a thought, the fruit. And so he said to the king, can I try to heal your daughter? Well, the king, of course, said, of course, anything. He tried all physicians, everyone. So the youngest brother was taken into the chamber of the princess. Now, by this time, the king had put out an edict that whoever was able to cure the princess, of course, would have her hand in marriage and earn half his kingdom. So the third son took out his flute, and taking a knife, he cut it into portions and fed each portion to the princess, who with each mouthful gained her rosy cheeks, sat up, and was restored to full health. Now, of course, the king had to keep his promise that whoever saved the princess would gain her hand in marriage and half the kingdom. But of course the three brothers claimed that they were the ones who had saved her. The first brother said, well, I found her in my magic glass. The second said, well, I was the one who brought us here on my magic carpet. And the third said, well, I was the one who gave her the fruit. that saved her. But the king could not decide who of these three was the most worthy of her hand. So it was left to the princess, and she said, "Let me give a test to each of these men." So she said to the first brothers, "What have you lost since you entered our kingdom?" And he said, "I have lost nothing. I still have my magic glass that I can see to all the corners of the world." The second brother was asked the same question. "Lost anything since you entered this kingdom?" "No," he said, "I still have the magic carpet on which we rode." And when she asked the third brother, "Have you lost anything since you entered this kingdom?" And he said, "I have nothing." The princess said, "I choose the third brother because he was the one who was willing to give up his greatest treasure to save me." Looking at this as a kind of allegory for our spiritual path, why was this third brother chosen? What is the treasure that leaves us bereft with nothing? The gains that weddedness in the kingdom. What does this fruit represent for us?
Life.
Yes. What does that? Is that our greatest treasure? Yes. Yes. Life. And we can ask ourselves, what does that life represent? We can say everything. But what about if you're drowning? What is the nature of life to fight for that breath, even in our dying moments? We don't know. The greatest treasure beyond life. What is it? What is it that we have to give up? That's inevitable. It's already done, like the arrow that's been shot and the bullseye drawn afterwards.